warm welcome.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It is so fun to actually see you here. We've been planning all summer, and it's just surreal that we actually have a room full of moms here. We're not planning by ourselves. So one quick thing before I forget, there's a snack sign up over here at this table, and we'd love it to just travel around and then end up in that back corner. So for next month, if you're willing to bring a little snack to share, just put your name down, and we'll send you a little text reminder. So there's that. So thank you for being here. I know with little kids, it can be hard to get out the door and get here, so we really appreciate you doing that to come, and we're just really excited about this year, and we've been praying over you guys, and we're just excited to start. So we're going to begin with just some little introductions to get to know each other a little better. So I will start. This is my family. My name is Maddie. Hi. This is my second year coordinating Mom to Mom. I also work here at Good Shepherd in the children's ministry. My family's been at Good Shepherd for almost 7 years. This is my husband, Ken. We've been married for 8 years. These are our 2 kids. Nora is 6 and Owen is 3. Nora is our fierce firstborn. She just started first grade. She loves school. She's really social. She likes to ask a lot of questions. Her teachers each year tell us that she's going to be a leader someday. And she has a really bright light for Jesus. She asks lots of biblical questions that are way beyond her years. So that's her. And this is Owen. He is my mama's boy with a wild side. And he just started preschool, and when I wrote this out, I said he had a great day. It was great. He went in, no tears. Second week didn't go that way. So there was some tears and some attitudes, but he's really enjoying being a big boy and going to school. So he really likes working, fixing things, pretending to be dad. He likes wearing belts and hats and gloves and being outside. I think my favorite game to play with him is to pretend to be scared of something like a spider, and he says, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll protect you." So that's a little about us.
Well, hello. For those of you who don't know me, my first name is Brittany, and my last name is up for debate. So last year, Becca introduced me as Brittany Ortifici, and Perry just introduced me as Brittany Orfeis. So either one works. So now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to introduce my family to you. So this is my family. My husband, Paul, and I have been married for 11 years. We live in Gresham, and we've been attending Good Shepherd for 4 years. We have 3 sweet kiddos. Jetson, there's the tall and handsome one. He made me a mama 8 years ago. He is just as tenderhearted as they come. He loves all things animals. In fact, my husband took the boys fishing, and Jetson knew that he was going to be able to bring a fish home. Well, they both were going to be able to bring fishes home. And so Jetson didn't realize, though, that at the end of their fishing trip, he was presented with this bag, and his fish was in it on ice. So Jetson didn't realize that he'd be bringing a dead fish home and that we were going to eat it. So he was completely traumatized. He was so heartbroken. And let's just say that he will not be fishing anytime soon. And in fact, he wants to be a zookeeper when he grows up. So then you have Jones. He's our second boy. He is 5 and just started kindergarten. He is such a little charmer. Look at that smile. But don't let him fool you, because he has kept us on our toes since the second I started having contractions. We were actually just in the emergency room on Friday night because he had a bicycle accident, and the handlebar went right into his groin. And It was a pretty scary first 45 minutes until they ruled out the scary stuff, but he's recovering and says he doesn't want to ride his bike for 3 months, which I'm like, we've got to find something else for this kid to do because he is the one that needs to be busy all the time. So that is a little bit about Jones. And then you see the little baby. That is our sweet little Junie bear. Juniper is her name. She just turned 1, and she is really starting to show her personality. She puts up with a lot from her brothers because they just want to take her everywhere and show her every toy. And I'm like, whoa, too much, like she doesn't need all of that. Like one toy, one hand, not all your body and everything. So she is a social little butterfly, and she loves to hang out with her friends and her mama's friends. And she loves to wave at strangers and smile just like her mama. So now that you get to know me a little bit, hopefully you'll get to know me a lot more in the next few months and coming years, because I'll be up here for 2 years. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Brittany. It's so fun to have you on the team. So my name is Becca Meyer, and this is my second year coordinating. Maddie and I were here last year. If you were here, you might remember us. I just love the mom-to-mom ministry. I love to just be here with you guys. It's just been a really big blessing in my life. So I'm just really excited to be back for another year. So this is my family up on the screen. I'm just realizing I wore the same dress today that I was wearing in that picture. Cool. Good. We're off to a good start. So my husband, Jake, and I have been married for 9 years. We've been at Good Shepherd for going on 6 of those years. Our oldest son there in the middle is Finley, and he just started the 1st grade. And what about Finley? He started 1st grade, and Ben, my second born, he just started kindergarten, and I am homeschooling those 2. So that's been kind of an adjustment, and sometimes I feel like a really good homeschool mom, and then I just have moments that bring me right back down. And for instance, the other day, Finley, my oldest, said, "Hey, Mom, let's talk about the forefathers." And I was like, "Oh, I don't even remember teaching you any history yet. Like, that's great. I'm doing a great job." And he was like, "Okay, so one of them is definitely Charles Ingalls, right? And then who are the other 3? And I was like, four, okay, there's not forefathers. So I'm not the best homeschool mom, but we're getting into it. And then our baby Jude just turned 2 yesterday, which was special. And he is going to have a CoComelon birthday party this weekend with his grandparents. And if you know what CoComelon is, I'm really sorry that you also know about that. We were really strict with our first 2 kids. They didn't have like any screen time at all until they were 2. And then we made a lot of compromises to have 3 kids and make that work. And so our 2-year-old has a favorite YouTube channel. Great. So that's just a little bit about my family.
All right, so I'm going to cover a few important details about our morning. Again, we're so excited that you guys are all here. This is like a room full of people. And I've never spoken in front of a room full of people like this before. So hopefully you came in and you found a table. Maybe you're sitting next to somebody that you know. Maybe you're sitting at your table and you don't know anybody. But something Perry said last year when she was up on stage, she had mentioned that you never know who's sitting next to you, and it could be one of your best friends. And so I can speak to that because last year I was a table leader and I sat somebody came and sat at my table, and I did not know her, but we talk and see each other every week. And so just an encouragement, if you don't know somebody at your table, hopefully you will soon. There also is a few special people at your table. One of them is your table leader. So table leaders, would you raise your hand? So table leaders are going to be the ones who help facilitate discussion at our table. They're also in the same season of life as us. So they know exactly what it's like to pour a hot cup of coffee and realize an hour later that it's cold and they have not drank it yet. So they've got little kids running around just like we do and are always occupied. We also have a mentor mom at our table. Mentor moms, do you want to raise your hands? So our mentor moms are so dear to this ministry. We just love them, and they are going to be a couple seasons of life ahead of us. They may have older children or even maybe some grandchildren, and they just have so much wisdom and love to pour out into the moms at your table. And so if your mentor mom or table leader reaches out to you throughout the month, just know that they want to build a relationship with you. They want to pray for you. They want to encourage you. So make sure to take advantage of all of their love. Also, we have a table number, if you notice in your table. And if you look around the room and kind of locate where your table is in the room, this is the table that you are going to come back to each month. So just make note of that. And there's also a roster on your table. So table leaders or mentor moms, if you have not passed the roster around, go ahead and do that now. You can just write your contact information on it. And if you'd like to, feel free to put a star next to your name if you are at all interested in volunteering, because this ministry is runs solely on volunteers, and we love our volunteers, and we have so much fun with them. We're so thankful for them. So if you want to come hang out with us before or stay late after, and just have fun, it would be a great opportunity for you to make new friends, and we would love to meet you and hang out too. So put a little star by your name if you want, and we'll connect with you. Also throughout the morning, we're going to have a couple discussion times. So this is just a time for us to get to know each other, dig a little deeper, and see what the Lord has been going and doing in our life. So hopefully it's a meaningful time for you all.
So we've been just having a lot of fun getting to know each other over the summer, and from the very beginning of our planning meetings, trying to figure out, what this year was going to look like, it's been really cool to come together and just see that the way that the Lord is working in our lives, and it's playing out in different ways in all of our lives, but there's a common thread of seeking joy in the Lord. And that's just been really encouraging to see, and just really powerful to hear each other's stories and just see the way that the Lord is at work in each of our lives, and that we're all thinking about joy in this season. It seems like kind of on a large scale, our culture is in this post-COVID time where we're still kind of dealing with some grief about the things that have happened, how things maybe are different now, and the world just seems a little bit more tense. It seems like when I look around, I see and feel fear and anger. And I don't know if you drove here, but if you did, you probably experienced anger from a driver. Even on the way here, it's just so common. Or if you go online, anger is just kind of all around us. And it feels like things like anxiety and depression are around every corner. And it just doesn't feel like joy is winning necessarily. And on a personal level, we know that we're each walking through really different circumstances. And when I look around the room, there's some of you that I know your circumstances, and I can't imagine talking to you about joy. But there's also so many of you that I have no idea what you're walking through. And so when we talk about joy, to be honest, it's a little bit intimidating to me. And I know that the joy that we're talking about, it can't come from anything we have to say. It comes from the Lord. And so we really just trust the Lord. We know that joy is from the Lord, right? It's a fruit of the Spirit. It comes from the Spirit living in us. And since God made that joy and has a design for it, it doesn't depend on our circumstances, and we can trust the Lord to provide joy.
Yeah, so just to echo what Becca said and kind of wrap up, our theme is cultivating joy. We're going to be focusing on cultivating joy in our walks with the Lord, in our parenting, and in our marriages. And the word cultivating suggests an intentionality to seek out a life full of joy and to use discipline and wisdom to apply tools that we learn. So our first theme verse is Psalm 16:11. In your presence, there is fullness of joy. And in the beginning of planning, I remember Brittany had a vision for moms to have something short and tangible that they can grab onto and remember, easy to memorize. And we thought this verse is just that. It's so simple, but it's so profound. Our next theme verse is 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. We like this verse because it has action steps, and we're going to be talking a lot about discipline and action steps, things that can grow our joy in the Lord. And like Becca mentioned, we really want this joy to be a deep joy that's grounded in Christ. It doesn't reflect good or easy circumstances, but a choice to choose to walk in that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that throughout our morning. But first, we want to get to know one another a little better. We want to get to know you guys and have your tables get to know each other. So we're going to share a little bit more. We're going to start with Brittany. So this is her first year coordinating. And it's just been really cool for Becca and I to see like how the Lord prepared her heart. Even last year, as she was the table leader here at Mom to Mom, was preparing her heart for this season and this theme and all the details. And it's been cool to hear now. We know her, Becca and I know her story, and just to see the Lord's faithfulness in leading her to where she's at. So I'm excited for her to share. So Brittany, let's just start. Can you just tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like?
Yeah, so I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. You can say that my upbringing was pretty dysfunctional. My parents were married for about 8 years and then got divorced when I was about 3 years old. So going back and forth from my mom's to my dad's was all I really knew. But it wasn't long before my mom and my stepdad got involved with some harsh addictions. So from the ages of 6 till about 10, my sister, who was 5 years older than me, took on the role of mom and started caring for my brother and I. She got us off to school, she made us lunches, made sure we had clean clothes, and dinner in our tummies. Sorry. So, as a child, I was oblivious actually to what was going on. And looking back, I know that it was the Lord who was protecting my eyes and my heart from the pain and darkness in my home. I know for sure my childhood has shaped me into who I am today, and I'm just so thankful for those experiences. He wasn't only working in my life, but he was working in the lives of my parents too. Because shortly after their struggle, in fact, they came to know the Lord, and they changed their lives. And if you were to see my mom today, you would never even know that she had a history of addictions. She is adventurous and healthy and successful, and she's beautiful inside and out. She's one of my best friends and the best Nana to our grandkids. So,
Was there a time, Brittany, in your childhood that you remember learning about God during all this?
Yeah. So, being as I didn't grow up in a Christian home, I didn't learn about God from an early age. But somehow I found myself in the middle of my school day, in the middle of the week, across the street from my elementary school at a church. I don't even know who signed me up for this or how I got there, but I was learning about Bible stories and singing Bible songs with like 5 other kids in the middle of school day, which is something that I don't think ever happened now in a public school. And so in the 3rd grade, just the next year, I got a scholarship to go to Eagle Fern Camp, and I did know for sure, I remember that moment when my mom filled out those papers because I was super excited to go and learn about Jesus. And in fact, that's when I was baptized and committed my life to the Lord. So after camp, I went back home to normal life, or so I thought, but I was actually living in a pretty sad situation. A little supervision, no boundaries, no rules, but I always made sure to come home after school and do my homework without being told. I did all my chores, even though I probably didn't have any to do, but I wasn't being told to do chores. I just did them. And I always knew right from wrong. In my home, there wasn't anybody shepherding me to the Lord or pointing me to Jesus. But it was very evident that he was living inside of me and why I always wanted to be the good kid. So, little me, goody two-shoe Brittany, went through middle school and on to high school, and I got involved with Young Life, which is a Christian organization reaching students through mostly teachers and coaches. So it's kind of like a church's youth group, but just minus the church. So I attended that weekly and then even went on to be like a student leader and then led middle school after I got out of high school. So that was a big part of my high school years. I did have a lot of friends, and most of them were the ones who lied to their parents, they snuck out at night, and they partied and drank. But I was not interested in that, and I never did. And I would still hang out with them, but it was just easy for me to say no at the time. And again, I didn't know why it was so easy, but I definitely know now, looking back, that God was definitely guiding me through those high school years. And I really could have gone down a dark path and repeated steps from my family, but he really protected those years. And so, yeah, I just always felt the Holy Spirit telling me that's not a good idea. So I wasn't, of course, perfect, and I still lived in sin, but I always knew right from wrong.
Wow, it's so cool to see the Lord's hand in all of that. I'm curious, what happened next for you?
So a few years after high school, I met my husband, Paul.
How did you meet him?
Well, let me tell you. Actually, a year before him and I started dating, I had met him, and he was not a believer, and so I wasn't interested. But over the next year, he had gone through some pretty tough circumstances, and one of which was his mom's passing. And through that, he had found her letters and journals, and they were prayers for him to come to know the Lord and to marry a Christian woman. So I came back into the picture just a couple months after that, and he was on fire for the Lord, and I was instantly attracted. Sorry, just catching up on my notes here. God clearly had been working in both of our lives since we were young. He orchestrated our childhood hurts and our traumas and our experiences with addictions to better our understanding for each other and our desires for our marriage and our family. So that's enough about me. Becca, let's get to know you a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Brittany, for sharing. Gosh, I can't even look at you when we talk about this. Your childhood and what you've been through, what the Lord has walked you through and called you to, it just reminds me a lot of my mom's life. And, she found out about God at a VBS camp when she was young. And because she chose to put her faith in the Lord, I get to know about him. And I've known about the Lord and really been in relationship with God for as long as I can remember. And so I think about just, how my story is bigger than me and how God called my mom out and really my parents out of their situation, set them apart, and now our family gets to walk with the Lord. And it reminds me when God is talking, it's recorded in Exodus 20 when he's telling his people, I'm calling you out. You're not going to do these things that other people do. I don't want you to bow down to idols and worship them. And he says that he will give his unfailing love for 1,000 generations to those who obey his commands and who love him. And that's Exodus 26 and 20, verse 6. And that's just meant a lot to me in thinking about my own story. And I feel like I'm just living in that unfailing love of the Lord. And I'm just so blessed and fortunate that I don't remember a time before I had a relationship with God. So I grew up going to church and just did a lot of regular 90s kid things. I had the Lisa Frank sticker book collections and fuzzy posters. I wore the jelly sandals. Maddie, were you around for the jelly sandals?
She always teases me. I'm only 3 years younger than her, but she thinks I don't remember anything from her childhood.
Okay, it's like almost 4 years. And I don't even know. Sometimes it's so much changed in 4 years, right? She just feels younger, but she remembers the jelly shoes, it sounds like.
I do remember the jelly shoes. I had a pair.
Yeah. So the 90s were good. Life was good. My childhood was great. I really just grew up enjoying sports and with a family who enjoyed sports. And I ended up taking a track scholarship, went to college in a small school in Idaho called Northwest Nazarene University. It's pretty small. There was no like, woo, I know about that. Thank you. That's my sister. So I met my husband while I was there, and then I actually transferred to Boise State after a couple years when I realized I was getting the wrong degree for what I wanted to do. Was just in Idaho for 4, 5, however long it took me, years, and then I came back, and my husband and I got married, and we've been in the Portland area ever since. So that's a pretty random recollection of my childhood. Maddie, I'd like to hear about what it was like for you growing up.
Yeah, my parents were also first-generation Christians. Excuse me. They really wanted our home to be Christ-centered. We went to church every Sunday, youth group every Wednesday. We were involved in a lot of ministries. My parents led high school group. We had high schoolers in our house all the time. My parents did foster care growing up. They were very ministry-minded. And we went on a mission trip when I was 11. So I just remember being around the Bible and being around people that knew about the Bible since I was really little. I received Jesus at a young age, but I feel like it wasn't until high school that I felt like my faith really became my own at summer Bible camp. I remember rededicating my life to Christ and really knowing like that was the time that I want this for the rest of my life, to follow Jesus. High school, I met my now husband, Ken, we were 16 in health class. We were assigned seats next to each other. And we started dating pretty quickly after that. And we dated through high school. And after high school, he proposed. We figured we're ready to get married. We're 18. So when we were 19, we got married. And I'm going to stop there. We'll get into more how that turned out later. So anyway, that's just a little introduction about us. We did go a little deep. So we're going to turn it over to your tables now. We want this time to be mostly introductions. We want everyone to get a chance to share a little bit about who they are, their family dynamic, kids. There's a slide that there we go. You can use this to lead the time. We'll have about 10 minutes, and then we will regroup.